At a time of massive and unprecedented income and wealth inequality, the Republicans look around them and they say, wow, we got three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Very richest people are becoming phenomenally richer. Working people are struggling. What's the solution? Well, obviously, the solution is to give massive tax breaks to the rich and make a very bad situation even worse.
What's going on, freedom lovers? Welcome back to the channel. Listen, I just stumbled onto footage that I need to get in front of you right now. We've all witnessed Bernie Sanders performing his routine for literally decades. The pointed finger, the ranting about billionaires, the identical Marxist talking points he's been recycling since before the Berlin Wall fell. It's formulaic. It's draining. And frankly, it's completely divorced from reality and how economics actually function. But today he collided head-on with an unmovable force named Bernie Moreno. If Moreno's not on your radar yet, he's someone who genuinely comprehends what America stands for because he actually experienced it firsthand. He's an entrepreneur, not a lifelong DC insider, and during this congressional testimony, he doesn't merely push back against Sanders. He systematically tears apart the entire soak the wealthy agenda using pure reason and real-world evidence. I'm not exaggerating, it's incredibly unusual to witness someone challenge establishment power this skillfully right there on Capitol Hill. You need to see how he leverages his personal experience in the automotive industry to reveal the complete absurdity of the Democrats' so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Let's jump straight to the clip. Check this.
It is apparently not good enough that the top 1% today own more wealth than the bottom 90%. That is rather phenomenal. But in my Republican colleagues' eyes, the wealthy and the powerful need even more help. 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%, just not good enough. We could do better than that. So not only should the very wealthy be asked to pay their fair share of taxes, the Republicans believe that we should give huge tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires.
I think we need to kind of go back in time for just a little bit, not quite as much as in Back to the Future. Let's just go back to 2020. There was an election in 2020. The Democrats gained control of the Senate and the White House. And what's been the result? During the 4 years of President Trump, his first term, it was never better for working class Americans. Real wage growth grew. The middle class was doing better. Our economy was doing fantastic. The Republicans had passed the TCJA, which gave tax relief to all Americans. And we received, and this is very important, the federal government received a record amount of revenue. So even though there was tax cuts for the wealthy was the headline. By the way, that line is as old as dirt. And it's totally false. While the tax rates were cut, tax revenue was at a record level. It would be fascinating if there was just one Democrat that acknowledged that we received a record amount of revenue in the federal coffers. You think to yourself, well, wait a second. Like, I'm a business guy. Like, if my revenue was at an all-time high and I was losing money, I'd say we have a huge expense problem. Like, oh my God, how could I get record revenue and yet have record deficits? Why? Because when you give Democrats control of our budget, what happens? I'll give you some examples. When my colleagues talk about how they defend the working class, I think the working class spoke pretty clearly on November 5th of 2024 and said, thank you, but no thank you. So what can happen in my old world of owning car dealerships? Mr. Chairman, you could walk into one of my dealerships, be a multimillionaire, pick out a beautiful custom-made Rolls-Royce Spectre where the audio system upgrade is $21,000. The logoed headrest in the back seat are $1,500. The umbrella with a logo could be 10 grand. You can lease that car. And thanks to the amazing and remarkable policies from the Democrat Party, the federal government will give you a check for $7,500. Think about that for just a second. That is a bill that became law called the Inflation Reduction Act. Giving Rolls-Royce lease customers $7,500 lowers inflation, and every one of them voted for that bill. How did that bill become law, you ask? Did it get 60 votes? Rigorous debate? No. They did it through reconciliation. And Kamala Harris broke the tie-breaking vote so that multimillionaires could have their fifth vehicle parked in Palm Beach with a check for $7,500 thanks to the U.S. taxpayer.
Bam! That's exactly what I'm talking about. Did you catch Sanders' expression? He definitely wasn't prepared for an economics tutorial today. Here's what absolutely infuriates me about the progressive economic playbook. Politicians like Bernie Sanders love lecturing about equality and redistributing prosperity because it plays well in 30-second clips. But watch how Moreno instantly flashed back to the Trump administration. He reminded the entire room that when you slash tax burdens and remove bureaucratic obstacles, working Americans flourish. Actual incomes climbed. Families got to retain more of what they earned, and Moreno exposed Washington's most blatant deception, this fantasy that reducing taxes on successful Americans drains government revenue. He cited the undeniable reality: federal tax collections reached all-time peaks following those reductions. Why? Because a surging economy lifts everyone, and as he put it, the treasury coffers remain filled. But the absolute highlight for me, the moment I loved most, was that luxury vehicle comparison. Consider the absurdity of this situation. The progressive Democrats, the same people positioning themselves as defenders of ordinary Americans, enacted legislation titled the Inflation Reduction Act that essentially hands a $7,500 subsidy to millionaires renting premium electric vehicles. Moreno broke it down flawlessly. Someone can stroll into a showroom, select a Rolls-Royce Spectre complete with a $10,000 umbrella. Yes, you heard that correctly, an umbrella costing more than many people's entire first automobile, and Kamala Harris provided the deciding vote to award to the wealthy disguised as environmental policy. And Moreno confronted them with this hypocrisy directly to their faces. This explains precisely why working Americans abandoned the Democrats in 2024. People are exhausted being preached at by lifelong bureaucrats who've never actually run a business or met payroll. They demand actual outcomes. They demand economic expansion. And they demand leadership that recognizes government's purpose isn't confiscating and redistributing earnings, it's establishing conditions where citizens can go build prosperity themselves. Moreno didn't just prevail in that exchange. He demonstrated exactly why the socialist vision continues collapsing. We desperately need more voices in Washington who speak practical reality like entrepreneurs, not academic theorists. What's your reaction? Did Moreno completely silence him or what? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about your take on that luxury car illustration. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay in the fight for reality. Catch you next time.